All right, guys, so after we've identified our ceiling in our handout, we have got roof framing. We're getting down to the last sort of two steps that we need to identify. We need to identify the roof framing system, and then we also need to account for the roof covering, which is made up of some 1x purlins and then also some cedar shingles. So two options when you're putting together a roof. We either use a series of trusses or we do stick frame style rafters. In this case, this building is using a truss system. Even though we're adding some additional framing at the bottom, we've got a series of stick framed rafters that extend all the way up to our decorative ridge that we have already accounted for. So what we need to do is basically this. We need to find the number of rafters, and that will be our first step, is to figure out how many rafters we actually have. For that, again, really great set of drawings. We can actually take a look at the framing plan, and you can literally count the rafters to make sure you have the exact number of rafters. A lot of the times what we're looking at doing on these is when we've got this rafter system in place, we really want to know what the spacing is and how they're set up. So what we can see on the drawings is we've got 2x6 pressure-treated wood rafters equally spaced, which means they're spaced at 1'5" and 7 16ths of an inch on center. So a lot of times as we're building, keep in mind that code requirements are 16 inches on center, 24 inches on center, etc. In this case, as long as we don't exceed 24 inches on center, we're going for this 1'5" and 7 16ths of an inch spacing for the center line of our rafters. It makes it a little bit challenging to build. You've got to be very thoughtful, but it makes the finish of the build look fantastic. So it's nice and evenly spaced. In this case, what I'd have you do is go ahead and just count the number of rafters. It's a small space. They're actually right in there. The other way to do it would be to take the overall dimension, the 12'0", and divide by 1'5" and 7 16ths, and that will then tell you how many rafters you need. So in this case, like I said, I recommend to find the rafters. I would just count from the plans. The next thing we need to do is we need to figure out what size material to order. So we need to find the rafter length. I'm going to let you guys actually do a little math, and we'll see how that goes. Because you're going to need to order I'll do it with you. I changed my mind. Sorry. If we look at our rafter layout, we know we've got an 8-foot span for the overall building span, which means we need to figure out what the run of the rafter is. So in this case, the run of our rafter is half the span. So our 8-foot length will be a 4-foot rafter run. Now, obviously, we can't order 4-foot rafters because those won't fit. If we were to have a 4-foot rafter, if we look at that, it's going to fall short of the actual length of the final rafter length that we need. So what we would have to do is we've got to calculate the actual length of the rafter, what we call the line length. This goes back a little bit to the 124 class, a little refresher. To do that, we can use that Pythagorean theorem, and we've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what we're looking at is we've got a triangle with a 12-inch leg and a 12-inch leg, or 12-12 pitch, and then we've got c over here for our actual line lengths. So 12 inches squared plus 12 inches squared equals c squared, which is 144 plus 144 equals c squared. We're getting there, 288. And if we square root that, then we should end up with C being equal to 16.97 inches. So our length over here is 16.97 inches. So I know that per foot of run, I have 16.97 inches. And again, if we remember, we have got 4 feet of run for our building. So 4 feet at 16.97 equals 4 times 16.97. And we have got 67.88 inches of rafter that we need. And keep in mind when we look at this, this building does not have a tail. It's what we would call in construction a mule. So we're cutting that rafter short. So we need 67.88 inches. If we divide that by 12, each rafter we need to be 5.6 feet. So at 5.6 feet, what I would recommend we do is, let's say if we order a 12-foot rafter, that would cover both sides. So then we can just cover the banks of rafters. So we're going to order our number of rafters. We're going to order 12-foot 2x6s. And that will give us a pair of rafters. So one 12-foot equals a pair of rafters. So if you count each individual rafter on each side, you've got to divide by 2. If you're counting directly up, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work your way up, and that's how many 12-footers we need. That covers us on rafters.